What would you do if you caught a stranger scaling your fence in the dead of night, their silhouette framed against the moon like a thief in a storybook? I'll tell you what. I froze, my heart pounding like a war drum, as the figure scrambled over the wooden slats of my ranch's boundary. This wasn't just any night on my quiet patch of Montana land. It was the night that unraveled everything I thought I knew about trust, community, and the woman who lived just beyond my property line. My name is Caleb Whitaker, and I've lived on this ranch for a decade, raising cattle and keeping to myself. The land is my sanctuary, 200 acres of rolling hills and stubborn earth, bordered by a weathered fence I built with my own hands. Across the dirt road lies Karen Hensley's Placia tidy, modern house that looks out of place among the sprawling fields. Karen's the kind of neighbor you nod to at the gas station but never really know. She moved in 2 years ago, always waving with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. I figured she was harmless, maybe just a city transplant chasing a rural dream. I was wrong. It was just past midnight when I heard the dogs Rusty and June barking like they'd seen a ghost. I grabbed my flashlight and a baseball bat, not because I expected trouble, but because coyotes sometimes sniff around the calves. The air was crisp, the kind of cold that bites your knuckles, and the moon cast long shadows across the pasture. That's when I saw her. Karen, all 5'4" of her, scrambling over my fence like a teenager sneaking out. She was in a black hoodie, jeans, and boots, her blonde hair tucked under a cap. I stood there, dumbfounded, as she landed on my side with a thud. "Karen?" I called, my voice sharper than I meant. She froze, her eyes wide like a deer caught in headlights. "What the hell are you doing?" She didn't answer. Instead, she screamed a piercing, banshee wail that echoed across the hills. It wasn't fear. It was rage, raw and unhinged. "You're trespassing," she shrieked, pointing at me on my land. "I'm calling the cops." I laughed, more out of shock than humor. "Karen, you're the one climbing my fence. This is my property. Go home." But she didn't. She pulled out her phone, dialing 911 with trembling hands, her voice rising to a fever pitch as she spun a tale about me threatening her, about how she was just checking her property line, and I'd come at her with a bat. I stood there, the flashlight beam shaking in my grip, trying to make sense of it. The woman was lying to the police, bold as brass, while standing on my grass. The cops arrived 20 minutes later, 2 deputies in a cruiser that kicked up dust on my driveway. Deputy Malone, a grizzled man I'd known since high school, took one look at Karen and sighed. "What's this about, Ms. Hensley?" he asked, his voice tired. She launched into her story again, gesturing wildly, claiming I'd been harassing her for months, that I'd built my fence too close to her land, that I was stealing her view. I listened, my jaw tightening, as she painted me as some backwoods bully. Malone raised an eyebrow at me, and I shook my head. "She's on my property, Tom. I caught her climbing the fence. I don't know what she's up to, but I didn't touch her." Malone's partner, a young woman named Deputy Ruiz, took Karen aside while Malone walked the fence line with me. "Caleb," he said quietly, "you got any idea why she's pulling this stunt?" "None," I said. "She's never said a word about the fence before. I thought we were fine, but we weren't fine." The next morning, I found my mailbox smashed, the metal crumpled like a beer can. A week later, my irrigation line was cut, water pooling uselessly in the dirt. Each time, Karen's car was parked just a little too close to my property line, her lights on late into the night. I started to wonder if she'd been watching me, waiting for a chance to stir trouble. But why? I'm just a rancher, not some tycoon sitting on oil or gold. The twist came when I met Eli, a drifter who'd been working odd jobs around town. He showed up at my gate one afternoon, hat in hand, asking if I needed help with the cattle. He was lean, with eyes that seemed to carry too many stories for a man in his 30s. I hired him on the spot, mostly because I was tired of fixing Karen's messes alone. Eli was quiet, but he noticed things I'd missed. One evening, as we repaired a section of fence Karen had conveniently bumped with her car, he pointed to a patch of dirt near the posts. "You see that?" he said, crouching. The soil was loose, like it had been dug up and packed back down. We grabbed shovels and started digging. 2 feet down, we hit something hard, a metal box, rusted but locked tight. Inside were papers, old deeds, and a faded map of my land, marked with a red X right where we stood. My stomach churned. The deeds weren't in my name or my family's, they were in the name of Hensley. Karen's family, or so it seemed. Eli looked at me, his face grim. She's not just crazy, Caleb. She thinks this land is hers. I took the box to my lawyer, a no-nonsense woman named Marjorie who'd handled my dad's estate. She studied the papers and shook her head. These are from the 1800s, she said. The Hensley family owned this plot before it was sold off in 1902. Your family's deed is clear, you own this land, Caleb. But Karen might believe she's got a claim. That night, I confronted Karen. I knocked on her door, the box under my arm, hoping to reason with her. She opened the door, her smile tight, like she'd been expecting me. I don't want trouble, I said, holding up the box. But you need to stop. This land is mine legally. Whatever your family had, it's gone. Her face twisted, not with anger but with something deeper, grief. Maybe. You don't understand, she whispered. My grandfather died believing this land was stolen from us. He told me stories, Caleb. Stories about how your family cheated mine. I came here to take it back. I stared at her, the weight of her words sinking in. She wasn't just a nuisance. She was a woman haunted by a century-old grudge, convinced she was righting a wrong. Karen, I said, I'm sorry about your grandfather, but this isn't how you fix it. She didn't listen. The next week, she filed a lawsuit, claiming the land based on those ancient deeds. The case dragged on, costing me thousands in legal fees. Eli stuck around, helping with the ranch, but even he couldn't stop the slow bleed of my savings. The town started whispering, some sided with me, others with Karen, drawn in by her sob story of a family betrayed. I felt like I was fighting a ghost, not a neighbor. The final blow came at the hearing. Marjorie presented my deed, the survey records, everything proving my ownership. Karen's lawyer had nothing but those old papers and her tearful testimony. The judge ruled in my favor, but as Karen left the courtroom, she turned to me, her eyes blazing. This isn't over, she said. You'll see. That night, I woke to the smell of smoke. My barn was on fire, flames licking the sky as my cattle screamed in the distance. By the time the fire trucks arrived, half the structure was gone. The police found gasoline cans near the fence. Karen's side. She was arrested, but the damage was done. My savings were gutted, my barn a ruin, and my trust in people shattered. Eli helped me rebuild, but it wasn't the same. Karen's house went dark, her car gone. Some said she moved back to the city. Others said she was still out there, plotting. I don't know what's true. All I know is that every creak of the fence at night makes my blood run cold, wondering if she's back, climbing over, chasing a dream that was never hers. In the end, I won the land but lost something else in me, faith in the quiet life I'd built. Karen wasn't just a neighbor. She was a reminder that the past never stays buried, and some fights don't end with a gavel. They end with ashes. ND.